Hello, and welcome to the recap of the Icebreaker sessions that we've been doing before each of the RingCentral launches in every building. Keep in mind that this is just a quick overview of what we covered in those meetings and doesn't have a Q&A session at the end, but it's just an opportunity for you to review what you might have missed if you weren't able to attend one of these meetings. So let's jump right into the background on this particular project. Why are we replacing this on-premise old Avaya phone system or PBX that we have on campus with a new cloud-based system called RingCentral? And there's huge changes that are implied by this major change, but just kind of getting down to the heart of why we're making this change is very much related to the fact that our current Avaya PBX carrier is really becoming expensive to upgrade and manage, and it's becoming an aged system. We've had it for an extremely long period of time. The vendor itself is really lagging behind in innovation and not doing some new things, which, if you're going to spend a tremendous amount of money and sink a ton of money into continuing to keep something up or continuing to upgrade something, if you're not getting any new benefits out of it, we're not growing and changing, it's not a great tool moving forward, which is really one of the reasons that we've decided to move to a new PBX solution called RingCentral. And there are a huge set of benefits, which we'll cover in this recap meeting, that relate to the changes that come with RingCentral and the benefits that you as an employee of the university are going to receive. So let's talk a little bit about the timeline and what's happening and how we're moving through this process. Well, we're already in phase 4, and when you watch this particular video, we may be in a different phase of this particular project, but we're moving different groups of IT individuals in the first phase. Then we moved BAS and admissions in the third phase that we had, as well as launching out to HR and the library and Mountie North and a couple of other buildings on phase 4 on August the 5th. Throughout the rest of the year, between August of 2019 all the way out to September of 2020, we're going to be doing multiple rollouts in different buildings and continuing to roll it out to replace all of the old phones on campus with new RingCentral phones by September of 2020. So at some point throughout the next year, every person on campus who has a desk phone is going to be affected by this change. It's just going to happen at a different point throughout the year, and we're generally at this point in time hitting building by building and doing one group of people together that are doing similar cohesive work together in order to allow them to make that transition a little bit easier from one business office to the next. But that kind of gives you an idea of what our time frame is and where we are in terms of transitioning over to this new tool. It's very fast. This change really only started in July of 2019 and is going to be finished up in September of 2020. So a huge change for the campus in terms of overall transition, and one that's going to be happening you're going to see a building move every 45 to 60 days. A new series of buildings and a new phase are going to be put in place, and we've got quite a few left to cover the rest of campus, so be prepared. This is a great kind of overall recap of what you have to be prepared for. So we're going to jump straight into understanding what's going to happen to you, and there's only two things you need to know in this basic part of this recap meeting, and the first part of it is that we're swapping out your handset. So today, what you have on your desk is an Avaya phone. We're going to replace that phone with a very similar looking phone. It'll be a Polycom phone or a VVX 350 or a VVX 450 Polycom phone that ties into the new RingCentral tool. And you can already see a lot of similarities between these two phones themselves. They both have home buttons, they both have messaging buttons, they both have volume control and headset control, and they have a round circle in the middle that allows you to do your navigation for up and down. They've got button controls up on the screens up at the top. A tremendous number of similarity between the two devices. So you'll be able to pick up your handset just like you did with the old phone, make a call, transfer a call, answer a phone call. There will not be a tremendous number or a tremendous amount of change between these two different phones. You're going to see a lot of similarity, and yeah, the buttons might be in a different place, or maybe an action that you have to take is just a little bit different. We're going to help you with training that on those particular changes and help you prepare for that particular piece. But the biggest item for you to know is that we are swapping out the handset devices. For every handset that we have on campus today is going to be replaced with a RingCentral phone as we go through this transition and hit building by building. So what's another item that you really need to prepare for in this transition? First off, it's good about knowing how to operate your phone. And we're going to do some training, we're going to provide some pamphlets, we're going to have some online content that you can utilize to learn how to use the new button functionality on your new phone. Again, it's not much different than the old phone. So if you're already an expert in using the old phone, you're already going to be far ahead of others in terms of using this new device. But we're going to provide you functionality and some information and training that relates to how to use the device to allow you to be successful in your role. Keep in mind that there's going to be some things that will be a little bit different. The buttons to transfer a call may be different. How you manage or change your settings might be a little bit different. But it's nothing that's going to be dramatically different than what you experience today. So, again, it's just the simple thought of replacing your old handset with a new one and getting used to using the buttons in the right form or fashion. You're also going to have a tremendous amount of self-service options. So I've got an option listed right here for voicemail greeting and PIN. In the past, you used to have to contact the help desk, put in a ticket to say, hey, I want to reset the voicemail PIN on my phone, or I need to change a greeting or make a change to something. And you're going to have a tremendous number of self-service options through a web portal. So you'll be able to go to a computer, log into service.ringcentral.com, and get access to change a tremendous number of features, which is really a great function or piece that comes with managing your phone. Now you'll have, instead of having to do it on the phone itself, you'll have the ability to do it through a unique web interface. You'll also have the ability to continue to monitor lines like you do today on the Avaya phones, where if you go in and add a particular person, you can see if they're on the phone or not, for making it easy for you to transfer a call. That same functionality stays in the new phones. You have that capability. You'll manage who is on your display without having to call IT. You can do that through that self-service portal I was talking about earlier. So some great functionality from that standpoint. We're also going to provide some leave behind guides and do some additional training. So before each of the different launches, we'll talk about doing live webinars where you can come join a session and learn how to use your phone, as well as the self-service portal that's out there. And with every phone that we deploy, we're going to be putting some leave behind guides that are going to have all the information in a really neat, compact guide that teaches you how to use the phone, as well as answer a large portion of the questions that you have in terms of the self-service portal or other things that I'll go into a little bit later on in this presentation. And understand that when we do these deployments, we're going to have on-site support there, so you have the opportunity to ask questions. Now, we're always going to be focused on doing the deployments and making sure that we're getting as many phones out as possible, but the help desk is also going to be there when those on-site techs aren't there to assist. So when we do these deployments, you run into a problem, you can always pick up the phone and call the IT support help desk. They're going to be able to walk you through a large portion of these items through the self-service portal, or they're going to put in a request and have our telecom group take a look at the issue and see if we can resolve the problem for you. But very simple things, not huge changes or departures from what we used to do in the past, is really the thought process about getting a new phone and managing and using that new phone. That's all you really have to worry about. And so I'm going to take a brief pause and a stop and really think, all right, at this point in time, if you're at this recap meeting, you're reviewing this information that's right here, all you have to know is what I just covered. Everything else in this presentation that is in the future or that we're about to cover is 100% optional. All you have to know is that you're going to get a new handset phone at your desk. You're going to need to know that we're going to provide you some training and some guidance on how to use and manage that device, and that's all you really have to do. Beyond that is only the additional functionality that I'm going to cover a little bit later in this presentation. So just keep that in mind. And when we rolled this out to even IT professionals, we made the huge mistake of rolling everything out to everybody and just expecting them to jump in and start using it. That was a stepping stone or a learning experience issue for us, because we thought everyone would just jump in and start using those pieces, and they didn't. Even IT professionals that knew, or that we would expect would know how to utilize or jump into some of these pieces, didn't. And so as we roll this out to campus, that's the same approach, or that learned experience is what we're trying to hit up, is the focus on the fact that we are just replacing your handset now, getting you used to that change, and then allowing you to choose if you want to move into some of the optional pieces as well. But just keep in mind, all that I've covered right now, if that's all that you really want to know or have to know in this presentation, that's it. The rest of this stuff is 100% optional. There are no requirements in terms of using it going forward. It's just something to kind of keep as a separation in your mind of, okay, all I have to do is worry about my handset change. All this other stuff that's really going to be cool and that we're super excited about, You don't have to worry about it. If you don't want to make that change or use these new functions, you don't have to at all. So let me talk about some of these really exciting new functions or features that are coming into play. And I want you to think in your mind about how RingCentral works now. It is now a cloud-based solution that can route calls to multiple locations. So no longer are you tied to just taking a phone call at your desk on a desk phone. Now you'll have phone calls that can come to your desk phone calls that can come to an application that is installed on your computer called a soft phone, Windows or Mac, or calls that can come to a mobile app that's been installed on your iOS or Android phone. So kind of keep in mind that RingCentral is going to be covering these three areas in terms of how they can route a call to your location. And anytime I refer to a soft phone, I mean the actual application that you could install on your computer. If I talk about a mobile app, I'm talking about the apps that can go on your iOS or Android phone. And if I refer to a desk phone, that's the actual physical handset that's on your desk as well. So we're going to go through and kind of review the different functionality and items for each of these different pieces. But what's really important to note is that these are the three different ways that calls can be routed from RingCentral out directly to you. And there's really some really amazing functionality and flexibility that comes with living in a much more mobile tool that allows you to take calls in these different areas. So let's jump in and kind of look at the soft phone application. Or no, let's start by reviewing the mobility that comes with your desk phone, and then we'll look at the soft phone functionality components with your computer. So with your desk phone, I said earlier, you had to be in your office, you had to be only on campus with your TCU phone to be able to answer phone calls. And that was really restrictive. This new tool with RingCentral gives us a ton of extra functionality. It's a cloud-based solution, meaning I can actually take this device anywhere in the world and plug it into the network as long as it's getting internet access, and calls will route directly to that location. So I'm no longer restricted to being on campus. I'm also no longer restricted to the copper wires that we used to run from our PBX through different buildings out to a specific location, and then again restricting you back to being on campus or being at your desk to answer your phone calls. So these are just regular network jacks that we can plug these phones into. You're no longer restricted to being on campus, so we have some great use case examples even with admissions, with regional admissions counselors that are living in different states are going to be able to take their RingCentral phones with them, plug them into on their networks at home, and they're going to be able to take their TCU 817-257 numbers to that new location. And there's also lots of self-service options that you've never had before with the old system. So with this new system, in terms of your desk phone itself, you'll be able to log into an online portal, manage your voicemail pin, manage your greetings, your hold music. All of that stuff will be available through our RingCentral self-service portal. Things that you used to reach out to IT before to modify or change, you will now have the flexibility and capability to do on your own to manage your desk phone, which is some great functionality and capability from there. So let's talk just a little bit about the soft phone on your computer, and you'll notice these are some various screenshots of the different functions and capabilities that are there. It has a native built-in dialer. I can pull from an address book and a list of contacts. I can use a headset on my computer itself, or I could use the built-in mic or camera that's on the device. I can manage call history information, as you can see in this middle screen. And we're going to talk about something called RingCentral Meetings, which is a great functionality for video conferencing and call and voice conferencing that you're going to be able to use with RingCentral. Really great functionality that's here with the soft phone. Some extra pieces that in terms of managing your calls that you might never have thought of before in terms of how you do your day-to-day business that are a huge push. So I really love the soft phone functionality. We'll get into some details and some different things on how you can use them, but just showing you some screenshots and some items on how this particular piece will work. So let's talk about the apps for your mobile devices. And when I talk about the apps for your mobile devices, I'm talking about the RingCentral phone app. Don't confuse it with the RingCentral app, because there's some different functionality that comes with the RingCentral app that we have currently turned off. So really thinking about the RingCentral phone app. You can see the app listed right here on an iOS device, built-in dialer, contact history list, your current messages that are out there, and little notifications at the bottom. It works for both Android and iOS, which is a great function. So you've got some choices on based on the mobile device that you might be using. And this means that if you have your soft phone on your laptop or on your computer, and you have your mobile apps that are out there, and you've got a desk phone that you could move anywhere in the world and plug into the network, you can take your 817-257 number anywhere with you on the go. It can be on your mobile device, it can be on your soft phone on your laptop, or it could be on the desk phone itself. So it gives you a ton of flexibility in terms of being mobile and where you work in these different spaces. So start to think about that as a change with how you might manage your day-to-day call life and some functionality and capabilities that come into our day-to-day lives. And what's really unique about these is that you have full control on where you want these calls to be routed, what apps you want to use. You don't have to use one or the other. You don't have to use all of it together. You can use just pieces of it. And you'll also have your own control over timing when it gets moved into your mobile apps. So I know a lot of people get scared and go, oh my gosh, all of a sudden my TCU phone calls are now coming to my mobile device too, and it's 10 o'clock at night and someone's calling my office. You're going to have full control over when those calls come to different locations. Right now, by default, we'll have it set to only route calls to the mobile apps, either on your soft phone or on your mobile device between 7:30 and 5:30 p.m. or 7:30 a.m. and 5:30 p.m. on weekdays. But you have full control over changing those based on your position, the requirements of your role, what you do, and how you work as well. So you'll have some flexibility and capabilities to make modifications to those on your own. Again, you're not forced into any of this. This is all by choice. These are all apps that you can choose to add. Again, you can go back to just using your desk phone and leaving your desk phone there, and that's all you use, and never receiving a call on your mobile device and never receiving a call on your computer. This mobility is, again, an option or a choice, and it is a change in how you might be able to do business and really adding some extra flexibility when you're here at work, especially if you're in or out of the office. Having that ability to control and manage calls in multiple places is really a huge benefit. So keep that in mind as you're kind of thinking through those different pieces. But again, you have control through our self-service portal to manage and change that functionality and how things are routed to different locations, as well as when that stuff is routed to those different locations. So let's talk about how user-friendly it is and kind of knowing when does a call go to a mobile app? How do I know it's a RingCentral call versus a regular call? So this is a screenshot here of an iOS device receiving a call, and that call comes in. This is just kind of the native dialer that you get, as well as the option that pops up on your screen when you receive a call. When you take a call from RingCentral, when the RingCentral phone app is installed, it is extremely similar. You'll notice that there is a little RingCentral audio icon that pops up on the same type of screen that you would see in the native dialer in iOS, and it pops up right below it, indicating that this is a RingCentral call. So you immediately know, oh, this is a call that's coming into my 817-257 number that's now being routed to my cell phone and ringing on the mobile app that's there. Again, you have a similar native dialer that's built in on the side. I'll dig into some of the features a little bit later to give you a better idea of what's going on. But you see a lot of consistency between the native applications that are already running on your mobile phone, as well as what you're going to get through the app on your device itself. So if you know how to use your mobile device and you're installing the mobile apps on your cell phone, you're going to have a lot of consistent functionality. You're going to be able to mimic a lot of the things that you already know in terms of using your overall device. So let's talk about Outbound Caller ID. What's really cool about having a mobile workforce is the ability to be able to change, if appropriate to your position and we've granted you the right access, the ability to change the caller ID that you're calling from. So say you work in a particular environment that requires that you call back to a main number. The help desk is a great example, and we may make an outbound call from one of our technicians out to get some help, but we don't want you calling back on a call center phone. We want you calling back to our main number, so you work through our queuing system, and you have the ability there to use the little drop down on the mobile app, select a menu option that comes up, again, if appropriate to your role and if we've granted you the right access, the ability to control or to pick a different company number to make your outbound calls from. So when someone sees that caller ID, they're going to see this new number. But by default, it's going to be set to your particular number, but you'll have the ability to choose how that process works. And again, this is if this is appropriate to your role and if appropriate to your departmental processes, and some things that we can set up for you as we work through your particular department or access controls. All right, let's talk a little bit about unified messaging. So, one thing to keep in mind is that your number is no longer just a number that somebody can dial and call from. In the past, if you wanted to send a fax, you had to send a fax to a fax line. If I needed to send you a text message, I'd have to send it to a cell phone or a mobile number. No longer is that the case when we move to RingCentral. Once you move to RingCentral, your TCU number, it can now take voice calls and receive voicemail. It's its own individual fax line, so you can have faxes sent directly to you and no longer to a main number that you have to go print out a sheet and bring it back, as well as an individual text line. So if someone texts you from a cell phone to your 817-257 number, they can go directly to the texting functionality in unified communication. And we'll talk a little bit more about each of these different pieces as we get forward, but just think about the capabilities that you have now instead of having to provide a personal cell phone number or a TCU cell phone number out to another individual. You can provide your 257 number, your 817-257 number out to those individuals, and they're going to be messaging your business lines instead of reaching out to you using personal means, because you'll have the capability and the ability to manage those through this unified messaging. So let's talk about the faxing piece to start with. You'll notice we'll start with this is a screenshot of the mobile app, but it's very similar on the soft phone application on your computer. You'll notice there's a little bitty fax icon next to the top item that's listed here. When I click on that item, it's going to pull up the fax item, what it did is it basically translated the fax into a PDF form that I can then email off to another individual, share with another set of users. I can throw it away if I don't need it. But there's really some great functionality that comes into automatically already digitizing these same files. I can also send a fax from my device or from the actual application on the soft phone on my computer. All I have to do is just digitize the file that I have. So if I already have a PDF version of that file, I can either scan it and have it sent to me via email and then upload it and send it out via fax. Or if I already have the file as a digital file, I simply attach it to the fax functionality in the mobile app or on the soft phone, send it to the phone number. It then translates that file to a fax service and then sends it out to the fax line at that location. And they may receive it as a physical form that they print out at a fax machine, or you know what? They may also have a similar tool to RingCentral that digitizes that same file and gives them access to the tool set. So it's just as simple as attaching a file like you do with an email, and it's putting in the fax line number and sending it out. No more are you going to have to go to an actual fax machine to do that. Now, if you have a departmental fax line that you use as a group fax line, we're going to be working through hitting each of those numbers up. And when we work with those, we're going to set up distribution lists that will send out to all the people that need to be managing or looking at those different fax lines. So you can continue to have your main fax number, but remember, your new 817-257 number is now able to receive texts as well as faxes, as well as voice calls and voicemail. So let's talk about text messages now. You'll notice on the second line of this piece, we have a little text message icon that's there. And if I click on that particular one, it's going to pull up a text messaging conversation. Now, it's not quite as robust as using iMessage on iOS or what Android's using in terms of their messaging applications. In terms of groups joining together, you can still create a group text, but I can't have people leave that text and rejoin it and mute their calls just like they would in iMessage. But it's really some great functionality that's already built into the tool. So if you're working with a student and you need to give the student a way to get in touch with you and they want to text you instead of calling you or sending you an email, they have that ability now. You can give them your 817-257 number and go through that overall process. So keep that in mind, is that what's really unique about both faxing and texting is that, going back to the basics again, you don't have to use this functionality. But if someone sends a text message or a fax line and you've decided not to install the apps, it will also send that to you via email. So you'll kind of see that item that's down here where I've got a text message, being transitioned down to an email message. If you've got the appropriate notifications turned on, which will be turned on by default, if you receive a fax message or you receive a text message, RingCentral is then going to send you an email if you haven't checked them through the apps and let you know, so you can manage those transactions through your email without ever having to go through and use these extra apps. So keep that in mind, that again, going back to the basics, if I just want to pick up my desk phone and answer my phone like I do today, you don't have to use any of these other features because RingCentral ties all this extra functionality and the notifications for each of those tools directly into your email as well, which is really great. And that ties directly into the voicemail piece. So just like you use today, if you have voicemail to email turned on, that same functionality is going to be available here. You don't have to receive this via your email, but you can. And so that last screenshot that's here is really showing the voice translation of that voicemail, which is different than what we do today. Now we just send you a WAV file that has that message. Well, now you're going to receive not only the WAV file, but you're also going to receive a transcription of that message, as well as if you're in the mobile app or on the soft phone on your computer, you can see those transcriptions and manage your voicemails through there. So, again, getting back to the basics, if I just want to use the handset, I can receive my voicemail to email still, but if I'm using the soft phone or if I'm using the mobile apps, I have that ability to see those voice messages and manage those voice messages from here. So really, again, just showing how all of these systems all tie in together. You don't have to use anything beyond the hand phone, or sorry, the handset or your desk phone, but you have all these extra functionality or options as additional functionality and capability that's out there. So let's talk a little bit about you having some control. In the past, you had to constantly call the help desk to get your voicemail passcode pin reset or to make some change to your old Avaya phone. Well, now you have a tremendous amount of control that relates to notifications, that relates to your greetings and how your calls are managed and what hold music they have. So let's look at a couple of these. Now, again, you can manage these through our self-service portal, which will be a web interface that you can go visit so that you can manage that if you just want to use the desk phone, or the soft phone or the mobile app. Both have settings menus. This is just screenshots of what's on the mobile app, and you can manage those same settings through the app. So again, just showing you the flexibility between all the three different types that are out there. So here's a great example of how to go in and manage my greeting and hold music. I could change it to I want my hold music to play jazz instead of reggae or new wave music, and I have the ability to manage those settings right here. It's instantaneous. As soon as I make these changes, it makes that change across all the different connection platforms that you have with RingCentral. You can also upload your own greeting messages and how those calls are, what the experience is for users when they call in. Maybe they get to listen to some great music when they come in. Maybe they just listen to it ring. Maybe you get put a cool introduction in, some great functionality from there. You also have call handling control, identifying where do these calls go? Do I want this call to ring here and then I want it to move to another phone number and then I want it to dial here at a different location? You have the ability to manage where those calls go and or have them all ring at the same time. When you go into my office and a call comes in, I have my cell phone there and I have my soft phone on my computer as well as my desk phone. It's like a Christmas tree. All of them all light up and they start ringing at the same time. And I love that because then I can be anywhere in the world with any one of those devices and have full control over my calls at any of those different spaces. But when they're all together, it's really unique. You get to hear all the different rings together. But I can manage that right here from the call handling control menu, either on the mobile app, on the soft phone, or using the self-service portal that's out there for your desk phone. Here's some notifications. I talked to you earlier about having default notifications turned on for faxing and for voicemail and for texting that you might get. You can even have those notifications sent via SMS to a cell phone number that you have, just to let you know that you've received something. Really great functionality built into your notifications. Very unique, that something that you've never had the ability to be able to do before, and now you have full control over this through the settings menu. And I'm only scratching the surface in terms of what functionality and capability you have in terms of making the changes that you want to your tool set, but you have so much more control than you've had in the past. And the help desk will be there to help you walk through your settings if you run into problems. We can always have somebody spend some time walking through these with you, but you really can't break anything in this process. Anything that you can turn off, you can immediately turn back on. So don't be afraid to jump in and look at your settings and do a little playing. The piece of information that I can always tell everybody to do is test what you change. So if you make a change to something, always call yourself from another number and see what that experience is like. You want to make sure that you verified what you changed actually did what you intended. And that's an important part of being able to manage things through a self-service portal. That now, once you make those changes, it's always good for you to verify that those same changes took place the way that you intended them to take place. So, a really great feature about RingCentral is the portable calling, or something I'll refer to as flipping. So, say for instance, I get a call on my desk phone from a doctor's office, or a private call from somebody, a personal call from somebody that I don't want to take in my office. Maybe I'm in an open space and I don't want someone to hear that, and I want to transition that over to my cell phone. I can do that by flipping the calls. So, it's very easy to go through the process. I have the call on my desk phone, and you have to remember that because this call is being streamed through the cloud down to my desk phone, that I can use my cell phone to pull up the app. It identifies that I'm on a call, and I can reroute that to my cell phone. So to flip the call, all I have to do is pull up the RingCentral phone app that I already had installed on my mobile device. When I pull that up, you'll look at the top area. It'll already identify that I'm on a call because it knows that it's streaming down to my desk phone. I click switch the call to this particular device. It'll pop up and give me a warning and say that it's transitioning them over. I hit switch and it's instantly picked up on my phone, on my cell phone, and I can walk out the door with my cell phone and take that call outside or at another location. That's great when you need to get on the road or you need to move to another meeting and you got a last minute phone call. Flipping that call to your mobile device allows you to walk out the door and continue the conversation. No having to hang up and call another user back or tell them to hold while you transition to another location. All of that is done seamlessly here. And that same functionality comes into play if I'm coming into the office with a mobile device and I want to go back to my desk phone. So let's look at this. So let's say I'm on my mobile phone right now. I'm taking a phone call. I walk into the office and I want to transition back over to my desk phone. Maybe I have a really great headset and this is going to be a long call and I want to be able to take that from my desk phone, or maybe my cell phone battery is about to die and I need to get back on my desk phone so I can continue to take this call. Well, again, the same option. All I have to do is pull up the mobile app on my phone. There's a little button in the bottom corner that says flip. You'll see that highlighted on the screen right now. And then when I click the flip button, it gives me the options on where I can send it to. Maybe I want to send it to the soft phone on my desktop computer. Or maybe I want to send that to the desk phone that I have, which is called a VVX 350 or a VVX 450 Polycom phone. In this particular case, I'm going to send it over to my desk phone and click the VVX 350. When I do, the desk phone starts to ring. I pick up the handset. The call is ended on my mobile device and it's been transitioned over. The user might experience a small hold period as you're moving from one device to the other, and they really won't even notice that you did much in terms of the overall transition. No dialing buttons, no having to transition anything over. Very seamless, very easy, and actually really cool if you're dealing with taking calls that you're moving into the office, or if you're in situations when you need to leave the office, but you want to continue that conversation, but you need to get on the road or you need to get walking to another location. Really great portable calling, one of the best features about moving to RingCentral that I think many of you will appreciate. So let's talk about presence indicators. So just like with your desk phone in the past with Avaya, you have several buttons that'll be there that we can put names and set those up so you could monitor the presence of another user. But with RingCentral, it expands that out. So not only will I be able to manage that on my desk phone, but if you'll see the image in the middle of the screen, I'll be able to put that on the soft phone on my computer. Look at how many people I have added to monitoring the presence there. I could make that a big, massive window and cover my entire screen. So you have some great capabilities to add multiple individuals and presence indicators on the soft phone, as well as the mobile app. So you see the device off there on the right-hand side. I can see the presence of all those individuals. There's a little bitty green button under some of their different pictures that's indicating that they're available and ready to take a call, and it would be red if they were actually on a call. So really some great functionality and capabilities that you'll see across all three different ways that you can take a call. And again, going back to the basics, if you just want to take your calls on your desk phone, you still have that capability with presence indicators. It's a little bit more limited. You definitely can't have a list like you can on a mobile device or a soft phone, but you do have that capability and functionality there. You can manage that through your self-service portal, make those changes, add those presence indicators. Great functionality, really cool tool. Remember, You also have control through the self service portal of turning off the ability for others to see your status in the tool as well. So you have your own capabilities to control what privacy you want in those particular roles and settings. All right, so I've gone through a tremendous amount of content with RingCentral, and I'm going to pull out some smaller, very specific items that I want to kind of cover here as additional benefits to moving to the RingCentral platform. So these are just some things within some of the applications or tools that I've already talked about. One of them is in the past, if I wanted to go identify who had been calling me in my office, I had to go back to my office. When I went back to my office, then I'd have to go through my call history and see who had called me. That's no longer the case. With the mobile app or with the soft phone, I can see my call history there. So I don't even have to receive phone calls on either the soft phone or on the mobile app. I could turn off the notifications and never route calls to those locations. But I could still install the apps and go look at the call history that's listed right there, which is great because now I can identify who's been calling my office, who's been trying to reach out to me, and I can call them back or reach back out to them to let them know that I'm unavailable or that I've been involved in something else throughout the day. So you have some really great functionality from a call history perspective. All the way back, huge long lists on who's been calling you instead of just being limited to maybe the last 10 or 15 that you might have seen on the Avaya phone. And it's also got some caller ID added into it. So if it knows who I am through the RingCentral system, it's providing me those details and those names that are listed right there, which is really a great addition over what you might have seen on the older phones. You can also pull your TCU contacts and put them in your pocket. So having either the soft phone or the mobile app added on your mobile device, you can then pull up all TCU contacts and do a search against that list. That's thousands of TCU contacts that now you have in your pocket. You no longer have to call the operator. You no longer have to call your office and say, what's the phone number for this individual? If we have them in the system and there's a desk phone there and we have their name labeled, you'll be able to pull up a search and pull them up, identify what their status is. And again, you'll see across the top of the second image, you'll see some red and green indicators next to the names of individuals that we've been calling recently, and it's identifying their status. So one individual's got a little red dot, meaning that they're on a call. I can't call them, but I can see that information directly from my mobile device or directly from the soft phone on my computer. I have so much more flexibility and capability in terms of communicating with others than I did before. Let's talk about calendar integrations. You can also log in with your account and do a calendar integration and use a tool called RingCentral Meetings, which is very similar to Zoom. I'll get into a slide and talk about that a little later. But with those calendar integrations, you pull up the app and I can immediately go in and start a voice conference or immediately go in and start a video conference by just clicking the links. Instead of having to go through and dial the numbers and manage out the call, I'll be able to do that with using some of these great calendar integrations that are built into the tool themselves. Great functionality. These are all screenshots of the mobile app. Similar functionality on the soft phone on the computer as well. Here's a great piece that's only on the soft phone on your computer, and that's notifications. So, say for instance, I'm sitting here working on an email that I've got to get back out to my boss. Say for instance, the phone starts ringing. Well, I don't even have to turn my head to go look at who's calling me. That notification pops up on the soft phone on my computer, and I can see when someone leaves me a voicemail, when someone sends me a text message, when someone's calling me, and I can determine what I want to do from my computer without even having to touch my desk phone, which is really a great capability, really great notification and functionality that we've never had before. Now the ability to see alerts directly on my computer gives me the ability to keep from having to take my eyes off of my machine and focus on the task at hand. So let's talk about some huge wins with RingCentral. For one, and most of you haven't even thought about this, you no longer have to dial 9 or 1 before a long distance phone number. So to get an outside line, dialing 9 is no longer a requirement on these RingCentral phones. When you have to dial a long distance number, you no longer have to dial the 1 right before that to make a long distance phone call. Huge wins, super easy. That's always the thing I forget to do when I dial a number, and then I get that message that I hate and I have to hang up the phone. That's no longer the situation with RingCentral. Treat the RingCentral phone like you would your cell phone. Moved away from having to do those things on my cell phone many, many years ago. Now my desk phone can do the same thing, or my RingCentral phone can do the same thing. No more long distance calling. Now we reserve the right for international calls based on how billing is done to bill back to the departments But right now, there will no longer be monthly bills that we've been sending to the departments for their long distance calling, which is a fantastic, huge addition. It removes a lot of paperwork. It removes a lot of the things that we were dealing with in the past, which will be a huge win for a lot of departments that deal with the financial implications of monthly billing service. And some of these other things I've already talked about: texting, faxing, flipping a call, using self service. TCU contacts all in your pocket, having that through the mobile apps. All of those are huge wins with RingCentral and a big reason why we are so excited to move to a new tool like this. There's some really, really great components and functionality tools that are all optional, but really, really give you the ability to become much more mobile in how you work and much more connected in what you do and more knowledgeable about what's happening when you're away from your office. Okay, let's talk about RingCentral meetings. I mentioned this earlier. So RingCentral has bought a series of licenses of Zoom, and I know many of you are already using Zoom, either the basic license or the pro license that's out there. Well, RingCentral meetings did something a little bit different. They bought licenses of Zoom, they slightly rebranded it so it looks just a little bit different, but all the functionality and the buttons are pretty much exactly the same. It works very similar to Zoom, but here's what they did a little bit different. So a Zoom basic account is basically just one-on-one unlimited conversation with one other person. With RingCentral meetings, you download the app and you have the ability to do an unlimited voice or video conference call for up to 4 people, which is great. They've done the research that shows that a large majority of most video and voice conference calls are 4 people, and so they stuck to that number, and that's how the RingCentral meetings component works. It's up to 4 people, unlimited voice and conference calls. It works exactly like Zoom. You can download the app on your mobile device or put the RingCentral Meetings application on your desktop computer, just like you do with Zoom today. If you have needs that go beyond just having the 4 individual callers as part of your RingCentral Meetings application, talk to us because we may continue to allow you to use your Zoom Pro account. We may transition that over to something different with RingCentral Meetings, maybe a more advanced version. But by default, you're gaining a huge addition to your kind of tool set, because now everyone who has RingCentral Meetings is going to, or at least everyone who has a TCU phone number and a desk phone is now going to have RingCentral Meetings, so they can do voice conferencing and video conferencing directly from their computer or their mobile device. Again, it's completely optional. This is something that is separate from your physical desk phone, but something that hundreds of people on campus are already using with a tool called Zoom, and this is basically just a rebrand of that exact same product that's out there. Let's talk about headsets. So, if you have a Bluetooth headset that you're using today on your mobile device or on your desktop computer, you're going to continue to be able to use that headset like you do today. That's not a problem. You can connect up to the RingCentral applications, listen to a call, get the headset capability going. It's going to work just fine. Now, one of the things that we've done is we've also gone through and listed out a series of the recommended or supported Plantronics devices that are out there. And if you visit ringcentral.tcu.edu and you click on the headset link off on the side of the page, you're going to see what are all the supported headsets that we already have in place. Because if you want the headset to work on your desk phone, or the headset to work on your computer, or the headset to work on your mobile device, these Plantronics devices that we've already put in have already been vetted through that process. They work with all of the RingCentral functionality. The button controls work. The functionality is all there. We've been testing them. Some great products that are out there. One of the things to keep in mind from a financial perspective, these are really going to be considered accessories to your desk phone. And IT is taking on the burden and the cost, the really expensive burden of replacing all the handsets on campus. So we're taking on that cost. But if you want a headset to go with your device, that's something the department would have to fund. And it's easy. You can work through our purchasing group, put in a ticket, tell us what type of headset you want, and they're very compatible and easy to use with your devices. The help desk and the consultants there can help do support. if you run into trouble. And that's really where we're going to be pushing people who have questions about what type of headset should I use. Now, keep in mind, if you have a headset that you use with your desk phone today, that headset's most likely going to have to be replaced. When I talked about earlier about using like your ear pods or your AirPods or a different type of device that might be Bluetooth to your mobile device or to your computer, those will continue to work fine. But if you have a headset for your Avaya phone today, let us know as you're going through that transition, because we're going to have to work with you about identifying what's the best unit to help you go through that replacement process as we are bringing in the new phones and replacing your handsets at your desk with the new rollouts that are going out. But great functionality, really good components and tools that are out there that kind of fit your lifestyle. We have headsets that are in your ear. We have headsets that are on your ear. We have headsets that are over your head. We have headsets that sit on your neck. There are tons of choices that are out there. Visit ringcentral.tcu.edu and click on the headset option to learn more. So, how can you help us prepare for this transition? And this is an extremely critical slide because this really relates to what you can do to help us make this work. For one, understand that we are replacing over 4,000 devices on campus with a brand new system. And this is a huge cultural change, so be patient with us. We know that change is not easy, and I noted that at the bottom of the slide. Everyone in your department is going to adapt to this change differently. Be patient with those around you, as well as be patient with the people that you work with to adapt to this change. Some will jump on this really quickly and be super excited about it, and others it'll take time to get them to that point. So understand that, but be patient with us, but also be patient with those that work around you as they're making this transition. This is big in terms of how communication is managed on campus, and all of these options that I've added in are huge, really exciting things, can also be very scary to others. And so those are some things to kind of keep in mind as we go through this. As we go through each building, we'll be doing an extension audit. And about 3 to 6 months before each building, we should be also going through trying to add in extra network jacks in offices to ensure that we can do deployments in these spaces. Because these phones require they're very similar to IP-based phones. If you already have an IP-based phone in your office, it's a simple switch out. But if you have one of the older digital or analog phones that's out there, we have to put in a network jack in your space. And so that group, our infrastructure team, is working 3 to 6 months ahead of us and working to try to convert all of these buildings. So when we do these rollouts, all we have to do is just plug in the phone and we are ready to roll. The other part of this as well is right before we move to each building, we do an extension audit. So we'll have someone that may be interacting with you to identify, is this extension in use and where are these extensions located and what are we doing before our deployment teams that are out there. You may have already experienced this. If you're watching this video for the first time, you know that we're about to do your building. You probably already interacted with someone as they're doing an extension audit in those places. We also want you to give us feedback. Understand that we still have a large portion of campus left to transition over to, and we want to hear what you're experiencing, how things are going. There may be things that we're able to adjust or settings that we're able to change that affect the rest of campus in a very positive way. So we want to hear your feedback. We want to hear what we could do better in those areas. The other part of this too is also watching for communication in the future about training opportunities, about when we're going to do deployments, what we're going to do. We'll send out communication before we do a launch in each of the different buildings. We do these icebreaker meetings to kind of help prep you for what's going on. And we want you to spread the word to the rest of your teammates about what's going on. Encourage them to watch these videos. Encourage them to go visit ringcentral.tcu.edu. Those are really an important part of spreading the word to the rest of the constituents that you work with to make sure that they're aware of what's happening and ensure that they're prepared for these transitions. So that's the last bit of this overall recap. I really appreciate the time that you spent. I hope this was hugely valuable in understanding what we're doing and what is going to come. We are super excited about what's about to happen on campus. Once everyone is transitioned over, there's going to be some really amazing things that you're going to see in terms of how the campus changes, how they manage their communication, and what they do, because that flexibility with the tool is going to be there, and we're extremely excited about that. So Always visit ringcentral.tcu.edu if you have questions, if you want to gather more information. Know that the help desk is always available to you as well when you run into issues. Reach out to them directly at 817-257-HELP, which also is 4357. And we're always here to try to help you at any point in time. Thank you for taking the time today, and we hope that you enjoy your transition over to RingCentral.